Hello everybody and be welcome to the Architect of Hades. It has been a long time and I'm happy to come back with a topic that was requested inside of my Instagram, and it's about how to open the door for Hades and how to get in contact with him, how to be open to it. And I want to talk about this touching some points, some key points. The first one is to remember that you are always allowed to contact any deity. You are allowed, as long as it's an open practice, of course. Be mindful of closed practices. But regarding Hades, you are always encouraged to just knock the door, okay? And as much as you are open to contact any deity, you also are open to be reached out by some deities. And sometimes when they contact you or when they start to hint at you, some of us could feel like we don't vibe with those deities, so we skip them. We say no thank you, I think I will pass this time. And it's important to remember that the same can happen on the other side. You can also ask and request for some deity to be in contact with, and they could very politely reject you. This is not something to feel bad about or ashamed of, because sometimes you are not, or you will not get what you need from that deity specifically. So this is just a general thing to keep in mind when talking about deities and contacting them, okay? Talking about Hades and how to open the door for him works very different from practitioner to practitioner, and it also depends on whether you want to follow the tradition or whether you want to follow the modern practices. If we're talking about traditional, well, the thing is that in ancient Greece, you wouldn't call for Hades, okay? And let's remember that Hades was a feared figure, and his name was not even pronounced, and they even used to have another name for him, which was Pluto, the master of riches of the earth. So that's something also to have in mind regarding chthonic deities and regarding Hades in particular. So when it comes to talking with him, I highly encourage to first do as you feel is right. Because, for example, you could be a very formal person and you really like to be polite. So if you are this type of individual, I would recommend you to follow traditional offerings. Things like milk, water works incredibly well, even some mint tea. You can also work with pomegranates. You can use objects as keys or maybe gold to represent him or to call his energy. Following along the polite line of calling Hades, you could recite his Orphic hymn. You could maybe put on some ancient Greek music in the background. You could use iconography or symbolism related to him. Black animals like black sheep, black dogs work as well. And for this, I recommend you to do some research regarding his traditional symbolisms. I mentioned some here in the video, but I highly suggest to do your own research so you can get in tune with the energy and with what he represents, okay? Now, if you are more extroverted or open when approaching individuals, you would be a little bit more expressive about it. Maybe you can approach him with something you really like and something you want to gift them. I like to think about deities like mentors, you know, like figures that you approach to with a need or with a desire to get something in return, whether that be just wisdom, knowledge, or even just companionship or friendship. That could be something that you have to define as well. And that leads me to ask yourself questions about why do you want to approach Hades? Why do you want to talk with him? Why do you want to get in contact with him in the first place. That could be to seek some kind of mentorship from him, to learn from some aspects or lessons from his mythology, or maybe because you just feel pulled to it. Okay, sometimes we don't have specific reason for things, and that's okay, that's all right. You could even find out why you want to connect with him in the process of the creation of the bond, of the relationship. So that's also beautiful to have and to consider. But if you can, and if it's inside of your possibilities, ask yourself those questions, and also consider to explore if you have any kind of fears regarding death and regarding contacting the god of the dead and king of the underworld, because that could be related sometimes to religious trauma, or you could just explore this topic and find out a lot of things about your own gnosis, about your own perspectives about life and death in general. Okay, it's important to remember that the creation of a bond with a god, let's talk about Hades, involves a relationship. You want to invest time inside of that relationship. Think of it as someone you just met, a friend, a professor. You want to build up the trust. You want to build up the safety inside of the relationship from both parties, okay? From you to them and from them to you, okay? It's a reciprocal thing to keep in mind. So remember that this will take time. Remember that creating a bond, it's about creating a relationship, and all parts of our relationship are involved inside of opening up to Hades or any other deity. You want to be in contact regularly, at least at the beginning, especially at the beginning. You want to be in contact, you want to talk with him, you want to express your thoughts, maybe your curiosities. You want to learn about them. And note how I'm not using the word should, I'm just using the word you could or you can, because I don't like to say what you can or cannot do instead of that dynamic. So I like to keep things mostly general because of that. Because I believe that you should be also encouraged to discover something new for yourself, and maybe listening to the experiences and practices of other people, you can be inspired by that as well. But you want to get to know them, just as anyone. You want to know their history, their myths, and start to discover how your life is intertwined with them, how you can work together, and to also remember that you can decide between worship and devotion. Okay? You can choose between both of them, and you can do both, or you can do just one. Okay? Devotion implies being present, implies giving gifts, implies studying, presenting yourself, celebrating them, being excited about their festivities and anything related to them. And sometimes it's just about you expressing your happiness for them and giving thank yous, regular offerings, regular presents. When we talk about working with Hades or with any deity, it involves a both sides relationship. At least that's how I see it. And working with them involves getting in touch with our lessons, asking for suggestions, for guidance, and maybe even doing something regarding witchcraft related with them, maybe practicing rituals, maybe getting inspired and doing spell work with them, and learning in the process. Okay? Those are two different types of working and of relationships, and I would suggest you to choose the one you feel more comfortable with at the beginning. And even if you start just with worshiping and then you head up to the working, you can change that whenever you feel it's right for you. Okay? So remember to develop relationships, remember to work on caries, on trust, because sometimes at the beginning it's hard to trust a deity, especially if we have this thought and this feeling of they are not listening to me, they are not here, I'm just imagining everything. And that's absolutely normal to feel. That's absolutely okay to feel like inside of those relationships, because it's part of the process, okay, to believe. Also, I encourage you to learn some kind of divination, because you will want to talk with them using something physical that can allow you to verify the information you are receiving and the information you are feeling in general, okay? At the beginning, it's most probably that you will not feel anything physically, okay? And that's why time and patience is required, because you want to get used to their energies, you want to get used to how does Hades feels for you. Some people say that they can kind of see him on the blink of an eye. Some other people say that they can feel him in his body, or they can see him with the third eye, okay? For some people, you could feel like a slight touch and you know that's him. That will vary and depend on the person and the experience. And that also leads me to my final point, to remember that everyone's experience is different. Remember that sometimes, not always, but sometimes the majority of things you see on the internet are altered. They are sometimes false, and that's just for the sake of marketing, okay? So remember that the most important thing is your experience, and that sometimes your own experience will be incredibly soft, very different from other people, and you are more than okay to not feel everything at the beginning. You are more than fine to not have this paranormal or big, super big experiences everyone talks about, okay? So give yourself time, give yourself patience, and enjoy the process. Enjoy the experience of discovering things as you go, and have fun with it. The most important thing is to remember to have fun with it. And also, please write somewhere near your altar or near where you live, near where you sleep, that your gods are not mad at you just because you didn't do something, okay? That's not a valid point of view, okay? Because that creates anxiety, that creates worry about whether you are doing things right or wrong. And here, there are no right or wrong approaches. There's just your approach, okay? For example, it would be wrong for me to not give pomegranates to Hades just because it's a really big element inside of his mythology. But it comes to be that where I live, pomegranates are not local. So would that be wrong for me? Okay? Think about that. And I also have this feeling that gods from other countries, when you connect with them, especially when you connect with them, it could be interesting for them to explore something new regarding offerings. But maybe that's for another video, okay? Let me know if you're interested in that. For now, these are the ways in which you can start to open up with Hades. Yeah, you can create an altar. Yeah, you can light a candle. But the most important thing is to sit, talk, and present yourself with the most honest intentions, and ask yourself questions, okay? If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you're more than open to leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.